The stars looked different now. Park Tae-ho remembered when they used to shine with hope, when humans looked up and dreamed of touching them. Now those same stars carried enemy ships. Death floated in the darkness above Earth, and there was nothing beautiful about the sky anymore. 30 years had passed since the Velrith came. Tae-ho was just a young soldier when their massive ships blocked out the sun over Seoul. He remembered the screams, the fire, the way buildings fell like toys under their weapons. The aliens were tall creatures with gray skin and 4 eyes that glowed yellow in the dark. Their bones were made of something like crystal, and they moved with a terrible grace that made humans look slow and weak. They conquered Earth in 3 months. 3 months to end everything humanity had built over thousands of years. The great cities burned. The oceans were drained for their minerals. Billions of people died, and billions more were taken to work as slaves. The Velrith did not see humans as equals. They saw them as tools, animals to be used and thrown away. Tae-ho survived because he knew how to hide. He learned to move through shadows, to strike fast and disappear. Over the years, he gathered others like him, fighters, survivors, people who refused to accept that humanity was finished. Now he sat in a cold bunker, deep beneath the ruins of old Seoul. The walls were concrete and metal, cracked in places but still strong. Water dripped somewhere in the darkness. The air smelled like rust and old blood. This was home now. This was all that remained. Around him sat his team. They were tired. They were hungry. But they were still alive, and that meant something. Kim Yuna was the smartest person Tae-ho had ever met. She was a physicist before the invasion, working on things most people could not understand. Now she used her brilliant mind to keep their equipment running and to find weaknesses in Velrith technology. She was thin and pale from years underground, but her eyes were sharp. She never stopped thinking. Baek Jun was Tae-ho's second in command. He was a soldier through and through, big and strong, with scars covering his arms and face. He had fought the Velrith more times than anyone could count, and somehow kept surviving. He did not talk much, but when he spoke, people listened. Han Naira knew explosives better than anyone alive. She could build a bomb from scraps and wire. She could bring down a building with the push of a button. The Velrith had killed her entire family in the first week of the invasion. She had spent 30 years making them pay for it, one explosion at a time. Choi Hana was the youngest, just 25 years old, born after the invasion began. She had never known a free Earth, never seen blue skies without smoke or cities without ruins. But she was brilliant with machines. She could fix anything, build anything, hack into Velrith systems like she was born to do it. Tae-ho saw something special in her, a fire that the aliens could not put out. Tonight, Yuna had called them together. She had intercepted a Velrith transmission, and her face told Tae-ho that the news was bad. "They are going to destroy Earth," Yuna said. Her voice was calm, but her hands were shaking. "In 60 days, they will detonate the planet's core. They will turn our world into fuel for their ships." Silence filled the bunker. Tae-ho felt something cold settle in his chest. He had prepared for many things: death, defeat, capture. But this was different. This was the end of everything. "Why?" Mira asked. Her voice was rough with anger. "They already took everything. What more do they want?" "Efficiency," Yuna replied. "Earth's core contains enough energy to power their fleet for 100 years. We are no longer useful as slaves. They have enough of us scattered across their empire. They do not need this planet anymore." June slammed his fist against the wall. "Then we fight. We attack their ships. We make them pay." "With what?" Hannah asked quietly. "We have rifles and bombs. They have warships that can burn continents." Tae-ho listened to them argue. He looked at the faces of his people, angry, scared, desperate. They had fought so long, and for what? To watch their world die? No, he would not accept that. We cannot stop them from destroying Earth, Tae-ho said. Everyone went quiet and looked at him. But we can make sure the galaxy knows what happened here. We can send a message. Yuna's eyes widened. She understood immediately. Project Echo, she whispered. What is that? June asked. Yuna explained quickly. Before the invasion, she had worked on a secret project. A quantum beacon that could send messages across the entire galaxy instantly. The prototype had been hidden in a bunker beneath Bizan. Everyone assumed it was destroyed, but Yuna knew the truth. It was still there, waiting. If we can reach it and power it up, we can transmit to every corner of the galaxy, Yuna said. Every species, every civilization. They will all hear us. Hear us say what? Myra asked. Tae-ho stood up. He walked to the old map pinned on the wall. It showed Korea as it used to be. Green and blue and full of life. Now it was gray and dead, but the roads were still there. The bunkers. The hidden paths. We tell them what humanity is, Tae-ho said. We tell them what the Velrith did. And we tell them what happens to anyone who thinks they can break us. He turned to face his team. In the dim light, his eyes burned with something that had kept him alive for 30 years. Not hope, something harder. Something sharper. The Velrith think we are finished. They think they won. But there are millions of humans scattered across their empire. Slaves, prisoners, workers. They have been beaten down and told they are nothing. But if they hear that Earth still fights, if they hear that we never gave up, they will rise. Hannah looked up at him. You want to start a revolution. I want to remind the galaxy why the Velrith were so afraid of us in the first place, Tae-ho replied. They did not invade Earth for resources. They invaded because someone warned them about humanity. Someone told them to stop us before we could spread. He let that sink in. The idea that the most powerful empire in the galaxy had looked at little Earth and felt fear. 60 days, Tae-ho said. That is how long we have. We travel to Bizan. We activate Project Echo. And we send a message that will echo through history. He looked at each of them in turn. Yuna, June, Mira, Hana, who is with me? One by one, they stood. No more words were needed. They had followed Tae-ho through hell for years. They would follow him now into the end of the world and beyond. Outside, far above, Commander Kethvoral stood on the bridge of his flagship and looked down at the dying planet below. He did not know that in the ruins beneath him, a small group of humans had just made a decision that would change the galaxy forever. The final countdown had begun. The journey to Bizan would take 2 weeks on foot. There were no cars anymore. No trains. The Velrith had destroyed anything that could move people quickly. They wanted humans slow and easy to catch. Tae-ho led his team through the underground tunnels first. These passages had been built long ago, before the invasion, for emergencies that nobody thought would ever happen. Now they were the only safe way to travel. The tunnels were dark and cold. Water dripped from the ceiling. Strange sounds echoed from deep places where no one dared to go. They moved in silence. June took the front, his rifle ready. Mira watched the back, her hand never far from the detonator on her belt. Yuna carried the maps and navigation equipment. Hannah kept the flashlights and communication gear working. After 3 days underground, they had to surface. The tunnels ended at the edge of a dead zone. Once it had been farmland, green and alive. Now it was gray dust and twisted metal. The radiation levels were lower here, but still dangerous. They wrapped cloth around their faces and kept moving, On the 5th day, they saw their first Velrith patrol. The aliens moved in groups of 6. They wore black armor that made them look like insects. Their weapons hummed with blue energy that could burn through concrete. T-Ho signaled for everyone to get down. They hid behind a collapsed building and waited. The patrol passed within 50 meters. T-Ho could see their 4 eyes scanning the ruins. One of them stopped and tilted its head, as if listening. For a long moment, nobody breathed. Then the alien moved on. The patrol disappeared into the distance. That was close, Hannah whispered. There will be more, June said. They are everywhere now, getting ready for the extraction. They kept moving. Days blurred together. They ate whatever they could find. Old canned food. Dried plants. Once they caught a rat and cooked it over a tiny fire. Nobody complained. Hunger was an old friend by now. On the 8th day, they reached the outskirts of Daegu, or what was left of it. The city was a graveyard. Buildings stood like broken teeth against the gray sky. The streets were filled with rubble and bones. Thousands of people had died here in the first attacks, and no one had ever buried them. Teo ordered a rest. They found shelter in a collapsed shopping center. The walls were still strong enough to hide them from drones. That night, Nira sat apart from the others. She was cleaning her weapons, but her hands were shaking. Tae-ho walked over and sat beside her. "Talk to me," he said. Myra was quiet for a long time. When she spoke, her voice was small. "My daughter would have been 32 this year. She died right here, in this city. I was not there to protect her." Tae-ho did not know what to say. He had lost his own family, his wife. "Hi." Daughter. He understood the weight that Mira carried. There were no words that could make it lighter. "We are going to make them remember," he finally said. "Every life they took, every family they destroyed, the galaxy will know." Myra nodded slowly. She finished cleaning her rifle and stood up. "Then let us keep moving." The next day, everything went wrong. They were crossing a bridge when the ambush hit. Velrith soldiers appeared from nowhere, their weapons firing blue death. June pushed Yuna behind cover. Mira threw a grenade. Hana screamed as a beam burned past her face. Tae-ho fought like a man possessed. He fired until his rifle was empty, then grabbed a metal pipe and swung it at the nearest alien. The creature fell back, its crystal bones cracking. But there were too many. They were surrounded. "June, cover the retreat." Tae-ho shouted. June stepped forward, laying down fire. The others ran. But as Tae-ho looked back, he saw 2 Velrith soldiers grab June and drag him down. His friend disappeared under a pile of gray bodies. "No!" Tae-ho screamed. Myra grabbed his arm. "We have to go, now." They ran. They ran until their lungs burned and their legs gave out. When they finally stopped, they were in a forest of dead trees. June was gone. Hana was crying. "We left him. We just left him." "He is not dead," Yuna said. Her voice was shaking, but her mind was working. "They took him alive. The Velrith take prisoners to their processing facilities. They need workers." Tae-ho stood very still. He thought about June, his friend, his brother in all but blood, the man who had saved his life more times than he could count. "Where is the nearest facility?" he asked. "Tae-ho, we do not have time," Yuna said carefully. "The mission, where?" Yuna pulled out her map. Her fingers traced the lines. "There is a processing center 20 kilometers east, but it is heavily guarded. We cannot—" "I am not leaving him," Tae-ho said. His voice was like iron. "We do not leave our people behind. Ever." Myra checked her supplies. "I have enough explosives to make a big mess." Hana wiped her tears. I can hack their security systems. I have done it before." Yuna sighed. She knew she could not change his mind. "Then we do it fast. We do it smart. And we get out before they know what happened." They reached the processing facility at dawn. It was a massive building of black metal, surrounded by fences and guard towers. Thousands of humans were kept inside, waiting to be shipped to mines and factories across the galaxy. Mira planted charges along the perimeter. Hana connected to the facility's network and began shutting down cameras and alarms. Yuna monitored Velruth communications, listening for any sign that they had been detected. Taeho waited by the main gate. His hands were steady. His heart was cold. He had done this before. He would do it again. The explosions came first. Fire and smoke filled the air. Alarms screamed. Velruth soldiers rushed toward the perimeter, exactly as planned. Taeho slipped through the chaos. He moved like a ghost, killing any alien that got in his way. He found the holding cells. Hundreds of humans looked at him with empty eyes. They had given up. They thought no one was coming for them. "June!" Taeho shouted. "Beak June! Here!" A weak voice from the back. Taeho pushed through the crowd and found his friend. June was beaten and bloody, but alive. His eyes widened when he saw Taeho. "You came," June whispered. "You stupid fool. You came for me." "Always," Taeho said. He helped June to his feet. "Can you walk?" "I can run if it means getting out of here." They freed everyone they could. 200 prisoners followed them into the smoke and fire. Most would scatter and find their own way to survive. Some would join the resistance. All of them would remember this day. As they escaped into the forest, an old man fell into step beside Taeho. His name was Shin Woo-jin, and he had been a general in Earth's defense force before the invasion. His eyes were tired but sharp. "You are the one they talk about," Woo-jin said. "A ghost who fights back." "I am just a man who refuses to die," Taeho replied. Woo-jin smiled grimly. "I know something. Something the Velruth do not want anyone to know. They are afraid of us. Not because of what we are, because of what we become." Taeho looked at the old man. "What do you mean?" "The Galactic Council warned them about humanity," Woo-jin said. "They said that when humans have nothing left to lose, when they are pushed to the edge, they become something terrible. Something that does not stop, does not forgive, does not die." He grabbed Taeho's arm. "They did not invade us for resources. They invaded us to stop us from spreading. They are afraid of what we will do when we reach the stars." Taeho looked up at the gray sky. Somewhere up there, the Velruth thought they had won. They had no idea what was coming. Bizin was a city of ghosts. Once it had been beautiful. A place where the ocean met the land, where ships carried goods across the world, where millions of people lived and laughed and loved. Now it was silent. The harbor was filled with rusted metal and broken ships. The buildings were hollow shells. The streets were empty, except for dust and memories. Tae-O stood on a hill overlooking the city. His team stood behind him. June was still weak from his time in the processing facility, but he refused to rest. Mira was checking her explosives for the 100th time. Yuna was looking at her scanner, trying to find the bunker that held Project Echo. Hana was quiet, her eyes moving over the ruins below. Elder Woo-jin had joined them. He knew things that could help. Old codes, secret passages, information that had been buried for 30 years. "The bunker is beneath the old port," Yuna said, "about 2 kilometers underground. The entrance should be in the main terminal building." "Should be?" June asked. "It has been 30 years. Many things have changed." They moved down into the city as the sun set. Shadows grew long and strange. The air smelled like salt and decay. Every sound seemed too loud in the silence. The terminal building was still standing somehow. Its glass walls were shattered. Its great hall was filled with rubble, but the structure held. Yuna led them through corridors that had not seen light in decades. Their flashlights cut through the darkness like weak swords. They found the elevator shaft. The elevator itself was gone, destroyed long ago, but the shaft went down into blackness. "We climb," Teho said. They used ropes and old ladders built into the walls. The descent took hours. Teho's arms burned. His hands bled. But he kept going. They all did. At the bottom, they found a massive door. It was built to survive anything. Even the end of the world. Wu Jin stepped forward. His old fingers moved across a keypad hidden in the wall. Numbers that he had memorized 30 years ago. For a moment, nothing happened. Then lights flickered. Machines hummed. The door opened. Inside was a cathedral of technology. Machines covered every wall. Screens that had been dark for decades came to life. In the center of the room stood Project Echo. It was smaller than Teho expected. A silver column about 2 meters tall, covered with lights and cables. "It is still intact," Yuna breathed. She rushed to the control panels, her fingers dancing across keyboards. "The quantum core is stable. The transmission array is functional. This can work." "Then what are we waiting for?" Myra asked. Yuna's face fell. "Power. The beacon needs an enormous amount of energy to transmit. More than we can generate here. The old power grid is dead. We need another source." Silence filled the room. They had come so far. They had lost so much. And now they were stopped by something as simple as electricity. Hana walked slowly around the room. She was studying the systems, her mind working through the problem. Suddenly, she stopped. "The Velrith Power Relay Station," she said. Everyone looked at her. "There is a relay station 15 kilometers north of here," Hana explained. "It powers their mining operations in this region. If we can connect it to the bunker, we would have more than enough energy." "That station is a fortress," June said. "Hundreds of soldiers. Defense systems. Drones." "I know," Hana replied. "But I can hack their systems. I can create a window. Maybe 30 minutes where their defenses are confused. It is enough time to take the station and redirect the power." Teho looked at his team. They were exhausted, wounded, running on nothing but willpower. But he saw no fear in their eyes. "Only determination. We need a distraction," he said. "Something big enough to draw their attention while Hana works." Myra stepped forward. "I will do it. Myra, I have enough explosives to turn that station into the biggest fireworks show in 30 years, she said. Her voice was calm, steady. "I can hit their outer defenses. Make them think it is a full attack. They will send everything they have after me." "You will not survive," Yuna said quietly. Myra smiled. It was the first real smile Teho had seen on her face in years. "I have been living on borrowed time since this war started. My family is gone. My home is gone. But I can give you what you need. I can give humanity a chance." Teho wanted to argue. He wanted to find another way. But he looked into Myra's eyes and saw that her decision was made. She was not asking for permission. She was saying goodbye. "Make it count," she said. "Make them remember." They spent the night preparing. Hana mapped the relay station systems. Yuna calculated the power requirements. June gathered weapons. Wu Jin prayed quietly in a corner. Teho sat with Myra. They did not talk much. There was nothing left to say. They shar at a bottle of old water and watched the lights flicker on the walls. "Tell me something," Myra said finally. "Do you really think this will work? That one message can change anything?" Teho thought about it carefully. "When I was young, my grandfather told me a story. He said that humans are like fire. You can stomp on us. You can try to put us out, but as long as one spark survives, we can burn again." He looked at her. "There are millions of humans out there in the galaxy. Slaves, prisoners, people who have been told they are nothing. If they hear our voice, if they know that Earth never gave up, that spark will spread, and the Velrith will burn." Myra nodded slowly. "I like that story." At dawn, they moved. Mira went north with half their remaining explosives strapped to her body. The others circled around to the east, where Hana had found a weak point in the station's defenses. The attack began at noon. Tuho heard the explosions from 5 kilometers away. Massive booms that shook the earth. Fire rose on the horizon. Mira was doing her job. The Velrith response was immediate. Soldiers poured out of the relay station. Ships launched into the sky. They were going after the source of the attack. Going after Myra. "Now," Teho said. They moved fast. Hana led them through a drainage tunnel that emptied into the station's basement. Her hacking had disabled the internal sensors. They were ghosts inside the enemy's heart. June took down 3 Velrith soldiers before they could raise their weapons. Taho killed 2 more. Yuna and Wu Jin stayed close to Hana as she worked her way to the main control room. The battle was brutal and quick. More soldiers came. They fought in corridors filled with smoke and blood. June took a wound to his shoulder, but kept fighting. Yuna grabbed a fallen Velrith rifle and fired until it was emptied out. Hana reached the control room. Her fingers flew across alien keyboards. She had studied their language. She understood their systems. In minutes, she was in. "I have it," she said, rerouting power to the bunker. "It will take 10 minutes to fully charge." 10 minutes. In a place crawling with enemies. With Mira fighting alone somewhere in the chaos. "Hold this position," Teho ordered. No matter what, they held. Velrith came in waves. Teho lost count of how many he killed. His rifle grew hot in his hands. His body screamed with pain. But he did not stop. 8 minutes. 7. 6. An explosion rocked the station. A wall collapsed. Tejo to the ground. When he looked up, he saw Velrith soldiers pouring through the gap. Then June was there, standing in front of him, firing into the enemy. "Get up, old man. We are not done yet." 5 minutes. 4. Teho grabbed a grenade and threw it. The explosion cleared the room. Yuna pulled Hana toward the exit. Wu Jin covered their retreat with surprising skill for a man his age. 3 minutes. 2. "It is done," Hana shouted. "The bunker has power." They ran. Behind them, the relay station began to collapse as Myra's final explosives detonated. Fire consumed everything. Somewhere in that fire, Mira died. She died fighting. She died giving humanity its chance. Teho did not look back. He could not. If he looked back, he would stop. And if he stopped, her sacrifice meant nothing. They ran toward Bizon, toward Project Echo, toward the message that would change everything. The sky above burned orange with reflected fire. It looked like a sunrise. Maybe it was. The bunker was alive with light and sound. Machines hummed with power that had been sleeping for 30 years. Screens showed data flowing like rivers of numbers. Project Echo stood in the center of it all, glowing with soft silver light. Hi-Ho could barely stand. His body was broken in ways he did not want to count. Blood soaked through his clothes from wounds he could not remember receiving. But he was here. They had made it. June collapsed against a wall. His shoulder wound was bad. Yuna was already working on it, using the last of their medical supplies. Hana stood at the main control panel, her fingers moving across keyboards. Wu Jin watched the entrance, an old rifle in his hands. How long until we can transmit? Toho asked. Hana checked her screens. The system needs 15 more minutes to reach full power. Then we can send. 15 minutes. It felt like forever. It felt like nothing got far above them. In orbit around Earth, Commander Keth Vorel stood on the bridge of his flagship. His 4 yellow eyes were fixed on a display showing an energy spike from the planet below. His crystal bones creaked as he leaned forward. "What is that?" he demanded. His officers scrambled to answer. One of them, a young Velrith named Senna, spoke up. "A power signature from the southern peninsula." It appeared suddenly. "The intensity is ... unusual." "Unusual how?" "It matches the profile of a quantum beacon." Keth felt something he had not felt in decades. Fear. Cold and sharp, cutting through his confidence like a blade. "That is impossible," he said. "We destroyed all their long-range communication systems." "Apparently not, Commander." Keth turned to his tactical officer. "Send everything. Every ship. Every soldier. I want that beacon destroyed before it can transmit." "Commander, if we pull forces from the other sectors, do it now." Across the dying Earth, Velrith ships turned toward Bizin. Thousands of soldiers mobilized. They had one mission. Stop the humans. Stop the message. Whatever the cost. In the bunker, Hana suddenly looked up. Her face was pale. "They know. They are coming." Yuna checked the sensors. Her heart sank. "A full invasion force. They will be here in 20 minutes. We only need 15, June said. He stood up, ignoring the pain in his shoulder. "We hold them. Simple. There are thousands of them," Wujin said quietly. "And 5 of us. Then we make them pay for every meter." June checked his rifle. His hands were steady. "I have been fighting these creatures for 30 years. I am not stopping now." Toho looked at his friend. At all of them. These people who had followed him through hell. Who had given everything for a chance that most would call impossible. "June is right," he said. "We hold as long as we can. Yuna, stay with Hana. Keep the systems running. The rest of us take the upper levels." Wu Jin shook his head. "No, I will stay with the women. My fighting days are over, but I can still shoot." He smiled sadly. "You young people go? Show them what humans are made of." Taeho gripped the old man's shoulder. "Thank you. For everything." "Make the message count," Wu Jin replied. "Make them remember us." Taeho and June moved to the upper levels of the bunker. They found defensive positions. They set traps with the last of Mayra's explosives. They prepared for war. The first Velrith arrived 10 minutes later. They came through the elevator shaft, rappelling down in perfect formation. June killed 5 before they touched the ground. Taeho detonated a trap that buried another dozen under rubble, but more came. Always more. The battle was chaos. Fire and blood and screaming. Toho fought like a demon. He killed aliens with his rifle, with his knife, with his bare hands when nothing else was left. Beside him, June was a wall of fury. They held the line. 8 minutes left. A Velrith soldier got past their defenses and charged toward the bunker door. June tackled it. They fought on the ground, rolling through blood and debris. June's hands found the creature's throat and squeezed until something cracked. He stood up, gasping. Another alien shot him in the chest. "June!" Taeho screamed. His friend fell. His eyes found Taeho's face. He tried to speak, but blood filled his mouth. He died with a smile on his lips. He had held the line. 6 minutes left. Taeho fell back. He was alone now. Alone against an army. But he kept fighting. For June. For Mayra. For his daughter who had died in the first invasion. For every human who had ever looked at the stars and dreamed, 5 minutes. 4, 3. A Velrith blade caught his leg. He fell. Pain exploded through his body. He crawled toward the bunker door. Behind him, the enemy was closing in. "Tay-ho!" Hannah's voice. She was at the door, reaching for him. "Close it," he gasped. "Close the door and transmit. I am not leaving you." "That is an order, soldier." Their eyes met. Hannah was crying, but she understood. She understood what he was asking, what Myra had given, what June had given, what they all had given. Tay-ho pulled out his last grenade. He looked at the army of gray monsters rushing toward him. He smiled. "My name is Park Tay-ho," he said, "and I am human." He pulled the pin. The explosion sealed the entrance. Rocks and metal buried the enemy. Tay-ho lay in the dust, broken and bleeding. But he was still breathing. Somehow, impossibly, he was still breathing. Hannah dragged him inside. The bunker door sealed behind them. "1 minute," Una said. Her voice was shaking. "We have 1 minute until the system is ready." They helped Tay-ho to the transmission console. He could barely see. His world was fading at the edges. But he could still speak. That was all he needed. "The beacon is ready," Hannah said. "Whatever you say will be transmitted instantly across the entire galaxy. Every civilization. Every species. They will all hear you." Tay-ho looked at the microphone. Such a small thing. Such a simple device. And yet it would carry humanity's voice further than any human had ever spoken. He thought about what to say. He could beg for help. He could describe the horrors of the occupation. He could appeal to the mercy of the galaxy. No, that was not who they were. That was not what humanity meant. "Begin transmission," he said. The beacon lit up. Energy flowed through systems that had waited 30 years for this moment. Quantum particles aligned across impossible distances. The galaxy listened. Tay-ho spoke. "This is Captain Park Tay-ho of Earth. If you are receiving this transmission, know that we are still here. The Velrith Dominion has spent 30 years trying to end humanity. They failed." His voice grew stronger. Pain faded. Only the words mattered now. "We are not the strongest species in the galaxy. We are not the fastest. We are not the oldest or the wisest. But we are something the Velrith never understood. We do not surrender. We do not forget. And we do not forgive." Una watched him. Hannah watched him. Wu Jin stood by the door, tears running down his old face. "In 60 days, they will destroy our world. They think this is our end. They are wrong. This is our beginning. Because wherever humanity goes, to your worlds, your stations, your empires, we will remember what was done to us." Tay-ho leaned closer to the microphone. His voice dropped to something cold, something dangerous, and we will return the favor. He paused. Let the words sink in across 10,000 light years. This is not a call for help. This is a promise. To the Velrith, and to anyone who thinks humanity can be broken. You should have killed us all when you had the chance. He took a breath. His last breath as a free man on a dying world. We are coming. The transmission ended. The beacon fell silent. Across the galaxy, the message echoed through every receiver, every communication system, every listening post. Commander Keth heard it on his bridge. His yellow eyes widened. His crystal bones trembled. Before he could speak, alarms screamed across his ship. Reports flooded in from across the Dominion. Human slaves were rising. In mining colonies. In processing facilities. In the engine rooms of warships. They had heard the message. They were fighting back. Keth looked down at Earth. at the tiny planet he had thought was finished. "What have we done?" he whispered Dot in the bunker. Tae-ho closed his eyes. He had done it. The message was sent. Humanity would survive. Around him, his team stood in silence. Yuna, Hana, Wu Jin. They were the last defenders of Earth, and they had just changed the galaxy forever. Outside, the Velith army regrouped. They would break through eventually. They would kill everyone in the bunker. But it did not matter anymore. The spark had spread. The fire was burning, and nothing in the universe could put it out. 60 days later, Earth died. The Velrith detonated the planet's core exactly on schedule. Billions of tons of rock and metal tore apart in a storm of fire that could be seen from distant stars. The oceans boiled away in seconds. The mountains became dust. Everything that humanity had built over thousands of years vanished in a single moment of terrible light. Commander Keth watched from his flagship. He should have felt victorious. The human homeworld was gone. Their pathetic resistance was crushed. But he felt nothing except a cold dread that had settled in his bones and refused to leave. The reports from across the Dominion were worse every day. Human slaves were rebelling everywhere. Mining colonies had been seized. Factories had been sabotaged. Warships had been captured by their own engine crews. The uprising that began with one message had spread like a disease through the Empire, and the other species were watching. The Galactic Council, which had approved humanity's containment, now saw what they had unleashed. Races that had been quiet under Velrith rule began to question. If the humans could fight back, why could they not? Keth knew the truth that his superiors refused to accept. They had not destroyed humanity by killing Earth. They had freed it, given it a reason to spread across the stars, with nothing but rage in its heart. The Velrith had won the battle. They were about to lose the war. 10 years passed. The galaxy changed in ways no one could have predicted. The Velrith Dominion, which had ruled thousands of worlds for centuries, began to crumble. Not from outside attacks at first. From within. Human workers who had built their ships now tore them apart. Human soldiers who had been forced to fight now turned their weapons on their masters. New alliances formed. Species that had been enemies for generations found common cause against the Dominion. At the center of it all were the humans. They were everywhere now, leading rebellions, building fleets, creating something that had never existed before. They called it the Earth Remembrance Coalition. Its flag was simple, a blue circle on black. The blue was Earth, the black was space. The planet was gone, but its children filled the darkness. And leading them all was Admiral Choi Hana. She stood on the bridge of her flagship, looking out at the stars. She was 35 years old now. Her face carried lines that had not been there before. Her eyes held shadows that would never fade. But her back was straight, and her voice was strong. The ship was called the Soul Remembrance. It was the largest vessel in the human fleet, built from captured Velrith technology and human determination. Its hull was covered with names, millions of names. Every person who had died on Earth, every person who had been killed in the occupation. They were all there, written in languages the galaxy had never seen before. Around the Soul Remembrance, a fleet of 3,000 ships waited. Human ships. Allied ships. All of them pointed at the same target. The Velrith homeworld. Hana remembered the bunker. She remembered Tae-ho's final words. She remembered carrying him through the tunnels as the Velrith broke through. He had died in her arms, smiling, whispering that he was proud of her. Yuna had died defending the beacon controls. Wu Jin had held the door until his last breath. They had bought Hana time to escape through a passage that even the Velrith did not know about. She was the only one left. The last survivor of the teen that had sent humanity's message to the stars. Every morning, she played Tae-ho's transmission over the ship's speakers. Every crew member knew the words by heart. It was their prayer, their promise, their purpose. We do not surrender. We do not forget, and we do not forgive. Now she was here, at the end of the road that began in a bunker beneath Bizen, looking at the world that had destroyed her home. Her communications officer spoke up. "Admiral, we are receiving a transmission from the Galactic Council. Put it through." A face appeared on the main screen. It was a creature with 6 eyes and silver skin. A council representative. Hannah did not know its name. She did not care. "Admiral Choi," the representative said. Its voice was calm, but Hannah could see fear in its many eyes. "The council urges you to reconsider this action. The Velrith have agreed to peace terms. They will release all human prisoners. They will pay reparations. There is no need for more violence." Hannah was silent for a long moment. She looked at the screen, at the creature that represented a galaxy that had watched Earth burn and done nothing. Where was the council when the Velrith invaded our world? She asked. Her voice was soft, dangerous. Where were you when they killed billions of our people? When they put us in chains? When they decided to destroy our planet for fuel? The representative shifted uncomfortably. "The council deeply regrets." Regret. Hannah tasted the word like poison. "You regret? That is supposed to make everything acceptable? You approved the invasion. You called it containment. You were afraid of what we might become, so you let them cage us like animals." She stood up from her chair. "We have a saying on Earth. Maybe you have heard it by now. When someone shows you who they are, believe them." The representative began to speak, but Hannah cut the transmission. She turned to her crew, to the thousands of humans and allies who had followed her across the galaxy. "Today we finish what Tae-ho started," she said. Her voice carried through every speaker on every ship in the fleet. "Today we remind the galaxy what happens when you push humanity too far. Not out of hate, not out of cruelty, but because if we do not, they will do this again. To us, to others, to anyone too weak to fight back." She looked at the view screen, at the Velrith homeworld, a beautiful planet of green and blue, like Earth used to be. The Velrith wanted to contain us. They wanted to make sure we never reached the stars. Well, we are here now, and we remember everything. She gave the order. The fleet advanced. The battle lasted 3 days. The Velrith fought hard. They were desperate, knowing that everything they had built was at stake. But they were facing an enemy that had lost everything and gained something more dangerous in return. Purpose. Human. Pilots flew with a fury that the Velrith could not match. Human soldiers fought with a determination that bordered on madness. They did not fear death. They had already died when Earth burned. Everything since then was borrowed time, and they intended to spend it making the galaxy remember. On the 3rd day, the last Velrith defense platform fell. The whole world lay open before the human fleet. Hannah could have destroyed it. She had the power. She had the right. Every person on her ships would have supported her, but she did not give that order. Instead, she landed on the planet's surface with a small guard. She walked through the streets of the Velrith capital while gray-skinned creatures watched from their windows. Afraid, waiting for death that did not come, she found Commander Kef in the government building. He was old now. His yellow eyes were dim. His crystal bones had turned gray with age. But he recognized her. "You were in the bunker," he said. "The young one, I was. So you have come to kill us all, as we killed your world." Hannah looked at him. She thought about Tae-ho, about Myra and June and Yuna and Wu Jin, about her parents who had died when she was a child. About 7 billion souls who had burned when Earth died. No, she said finally. Kef's eyes widened. No, we are not like you. That is what you never understood. That is what the whole galaxy never understood. Hana stepped closer. We do not fight because we enjoy it. We fight because we have to. And we win because we do not stop. But we know when to stop. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small device. A recording. She pressed play, and Teo's voice filled the room. The final transmission. The promise that had echoed across the stars. He said we would return the favor, Hana continued. And we have. Your empire is broken. Your power is gone. You will never threaten anyone again. That is the favor. That is justice. She turned to leave, then stopped. But there is one more thing, she said. Every year, on the anniversary of Earth's destruction, you will broadcast a message to the entire galaxy. You will tell them what you did, what we did, and you will warn them. Kef stared at her. Warn them of what? Hannah smiled. It was not a kind smile, but it was not cruel either. It was the smile of someone who had walked through fire and come out the other side. Never corner a human. We do not know how to die quietly. She walked out of the building. Behind her, Kef sat in silence. He thought about the small planet he had conquered 30 years ago. The species he had dismissed as primitive. The mistake that had cost him everything. The humans had won. Not with the biggest ships or the strongest weapons, but with something the Velrith had never understood. The refusal to give up. Ever, across the galaxy, the word spread. The Velrith homeworld had fallen. Humanity had risen. And a new proverb entered the languages of 1,000 species. Never corner a human. They do not know how to die quietly. Earth was gone. But humanity's reminder echoed forever. In every corner of the galaxy, in every dark place where the oppressed dreamed of freedom, they heard the message that began in a bunker beneath BUSAN. We are still here. We do not surrender. We do not forget. And we do not forgive. We are human. And we remember everything.